Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Committee Reads. I am your host KWCs, and with me today I have GVR, Nagoda, and Ultimate Ditto. And today we will be going over match 159, Zilla vs. Kumonga by Grayson Post. Cairo, home to one of the oldest sources of civilization in a thriving port, was silent. The city had been victim to the attacks of Kaiju, a rare event for this part of the globe. Most of the busy city had been littered with spots of webbing, future meals for Kumonga. Anyone not trapped in the webs were hiding, too fearful to emerge from the presumed safety of the buildings. Large chunks of destroyed landscape showed signs of a devastating fight. Burned husk and sliced structures. The ancient ruins that drew the world to this place were covered as well, with the great pyramids of Giza themselves becoming storage for the Kaiju spider. Feeding had occurred, with the large cranium of a Gauss sticking out from the ruins with a stinger firmly lodged into its skull. The perpetrator itself was nearby, sitting beneath sand dunes in wait. It had been a few weeks since the metal shells had come, or the stinging birds flown in. The floating ones hadn't been in the water since it had begun, and most of the sacks were empty. So it sat in waiting, expecting another of the giant monsters to arrive. One had before, and it couldn't be long before another showed. The gigantic spider's instincts was correct, as the ground began to shake. In front of the pyramids, the earth cracked and bent, quickly crumbling as a kaiju launched itself out, landing onto the earth with a small thud. The boxy head of Zilla rose, shaking as it stood up onto its two legs. The waters of the Pacific were too full of competition, and had been moving this way for a few weeks, only hitting the west coast of Africa a few days before. Pass.
Did you say pass?
Yes.
You cut out as soon as you said it, so I didn't hear anything. Yeah, the gigantic spider's instincts were correct as the ground began to shake. In front of the pyramids, the earth
with chittering. With chittering.
Damn it! With the chittering call that came from the west, the mutation knew that he was not alone. Turning to face the emerging insect, a roar was the beast's warming cry. Warming cry.
Yes, it was very opening, very welcoming.
He had not traveled all this way to be forced out by a giant bug. Technically it's a spider. It's an arachnid? The reptile leapt upward, aiming to land on top of the insect. It's an arachnid.
Yes, you fool.
Fortunately for it, Kumonga had the same idea. Kumosagami's in this match.
Totally.
Both crashed into each other in midair, falling to the ground with a loud thud. In the mess of spindly legs and spikes, Zilla was the first to recover. He had seen what the spider was able to do back on Monster Island with others up close, and he wasn't going to be on the menu today. He squirmed out from beneath the slowly moving arthropod, the spines on his back accidentally slicing into the segments of a leg. The spider screeched in pain, thrashing about while the potential prey slipped away. It used the pain to right itself, hissing angrily. The intruder would pay for what it had done. The spider quickly fell upon the mutant, leg swinging down at it. The reptile screeched as the claws made deep gouges into its flesh. It swiped at Kumonga's face, only for it to be countered by more legs. Snarling, Zilla leapt forward, jaws clamping onto one of the legs. The spider gave a screech, shaking the lizard around as if it were a parasite. A moan left the clamped jaws of the copycat, and he let go. The flailing leg knocked the creature away, landing with a thud. Standing up groggily, Zilla shook his head. A new strategy was needed, then charging head-on. Pass.
Nagoda, you're up.
Sorry, I had my thing muted. Forgot about that.
Right.
Using his superior, I'm at using his superior speed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Using his superior speed, the lizard quickly darted to the left of the spider. As it tried to turn slowly, Zilla leapt upon the back of the insect, hooking its claws around one of the edges of a segment. The spider began to thrash around, leaping about and shaking in an attempt to rid itself of the hitchhiker. Zilla gave a small roar, almost in excitement as to the ride it was getting. It ended abruptly, the spider bucking off his rider. Zilla flew through the air and crashed into the Great Sphinx, sending the head into the Nile River. The mutant stood up, quickly running to avoid another bout of swinging legs from the spider as he headed toward the desert. Gaining what he thought was enough distance, Zilla turned back to face Kumonga. He gave a roar, pawing the ground in an attempt to intimidate. Little reaction came from the spider, with only a loud cry being heard. As he began to run at it, a string of webbing landed square in the Kaiju's face. The lizard crashed into the dirt with a screech, a cloud appearing from the buried debris. The spider didn't stop, sending more and more onto the beast until only its struggling could be seen. Stalking forward, the arachnid shot a poison stinger into the webbing and raised a leg. It swiped down, stabbing down into the webbing and into a gigantic hole. Kumonga began to backpedal, confused as to what had happened. The prey should have been right there. It was impossible for it to have broken out at this point. But it was proven wrong as Zilla erupted from beneath it. He had seen back on Monster Island how devastating the spider's webbing could be, and the thrashing had been him escaping. Pass.
Lifting the spider up, the mutant ran towards the pyramids, intending to trap its foe between the ancient structures. Kumonga's legs flailed in the air as it was pushed forward, screeching as it did. It soon turned into cries of pain as the front part of the Gao skull broke through the carapace, sending a splattering of blood and guts onto the lookalikes' back. Zilla didn't stop, forcing the skull deeper into the kaiju with its strength. It popped through it in its entirety, the blood and guts pulling in the socket before dripping onto the ground. The thrashing limbs slammed into Zilla, made him move back, keeping some distance. He watched with primordial satisfaction as it thrashing slowed to a twitch, and then stopped. Zilla let out a roar of victory and looked over his newly won territory. There would be time needed for cleaning out the webbing and make his place his home. For now, though, it was time to feast. Insect wasn't his normal thing to eat, but he wasn't one to waste such an opportunity. Winner, Zilla.
So is intending to trap it is foe? Anyway. But with that said, I think from Grayson Post, this is kind of an alright average match. I think it has the premise, like the setting of like Egypt and Giza. It is nice to be around this part of the world, and I think it's nice to see just like some of the landmarks. Like even if it's not within Cairo itself, it's close to the pyramids. It's like I think it is a really cool. That is a cool location to set it in. But it's also hard for me to give any real compliments here. It's just somewhat, par for the course. It's like, it's perfectly fine. I think it does what it does perfectly fine. There are some nitpicks, like say, spiders aren't bugs. They're not insects. They are arachnids. They are arthropods. They are of a totally different class. But that's just me being...
And can Kumonga's stinger shoot out like that?
I think Grayshot said he was okay with that after 133, so...
But, oh, yeah, sure, 133. That's our benchmark for...
Apparently. And I was kind of surprised to see that here, too. That was like, oh. I thought 133 was the only one with, like, shooting stingers. And I was like, oh. There's this magical thing called interpretation and creative liberty that exists. So, yeah, no, it had been a while since I read this, so I was like, I didn't realize...
Well, it's wrong.
It's wrong! It's objectively wrong! But yeah, no, that aside, I think this is a perfectly fine little match between Zilla and Kumonga. Both are used alright, and I just enjoy sort of the landscape of it. So, that said, I wish my banner had been a little better for this one. I am noticing a theme of my early banners, but anyway, I think this one originally was of a smaller scale, but then it had to be upscaled to accommodate for the new banner size. So things do look kind of pixelated and a little off, and I wish I could have put more work or just reconstructed it to make it look cleaner, because it could have been better. The only thing I'm really happy with is Zilla's like body peeping out of the ground. I think that looks really cool. Otherwise, though, it's like the rest. I think there's a lot left to be desired. The Gao's head, I am both like weirdly proud of yet ashamed of, because it's like on one hand, the quality of the image is not great. Again, because of the upscaling, but I do like the extra details of like clearly a dead Gauss wrapped in. You can only see it for a little bit, like wrapped in web, and it's like, that would have been great. So I was like, who knows? Who knows? But afraid, yeah, no, I think this one is, again, an alright match with a banner that's, So, going from top to bottom, GVR, what do you think of the match?
It was alright. I don't really have much else to say that you didn't say. It's fine, inoffensive.
Yeah.
Alright, Nagoda, what do you think of the match?
Sorry, it was muted again. It was nice. Well, I like how like there's just a dead Gauss that Kumonga managed to get, as well as just Zilla stumbling upon him and digging out of the webbing instead of just being caught like most people usually do. As for the banner itself, I like the decapitated Gauss head, like the spider webs on the pyramids, and even though Zilla's a bit pixelated, that's understandable because it's Final War Zilla. I like how he's coming out of like a hole in the sand.
Alright. And Ditto, what do you think of the match?
I'd say it's short and sweet. I'd say it's like a hot pocket. It's very quick and easy, but it'll sustain you. But obviously, if you want something more filling, you can read longer matches or slightly higher quality. But this one, it's fine. Like if you want something quick to read, then yeah, this will do the job. I agree with Nagoda. I liked how Zilla escaped the webbing, since most of the time people will have Kumonga kill. That'll be like it, the one hit KO, like the done. But Zilla escaping is pretty refreshing. The banner, I mean there's some problems, but there's also stuff I like about it. I like the Gauss skull and some of the webbing on the pyramids. There's some of the pyramids still have like a little bit of gray, I think.
Yeah, like a little
on
bit
the
of
edges there.
Background. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. I think Kumonga could have been positioned a little better, but it's nothing crazy. I do like Zilla, like bursting out of the ground as if he just, finished burrowing.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd say it's still a pretty good banner, even if there are some noticeable little like blemishes.
No.
But yeah, overall, this match it's good. That's about it. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It's just good.
All right. Oh, that's fair. But yeah, I think with that said, I think everyone's given their piece. And that said, this has been match 159, and we will see you guys next time for 160. Till then, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Like,